I am Nahia Salim and I will be highlighting the ethics of pediatric vaccine trials in this section. The pediatric vaccine trial include ethical design of the research, vulnerability of the pediatric population, informed consent procedures, and benefits and risk of the trial. Justifiable. One of the factors is the burden of the disease itself. For example, if you look at the infectious disease such as malaria, we know that it has been a major cause of morbidity and mortality affecting mostly children in developing countries, including low and middle income countries. And considering the ongoing interventions and the control measures, there is a global concern to eliminate and eradicate malaria, and therefore it is ethically justified to conduct malaria vaccine or such of new drugs in collaboration with developed countries in malaria endemic areas among the population mostly affected. And hence greater efforts are done to conduct malaria vaccine trials in children, the population most in need, considering its safety and appropriateness. Absence of an effective therapy for many infectious diseases, including malaria, and lack of clinical research, especially among children, creates an urgency for establishment of clinical trials in low and middle income countries. And therefore, scientific validity is important considering socio-cultural values and also scientific objectives for the primary beneficiaries of the research. A vaccine or a new drug and the need to meet safety and other ethical requirements without jeopardizing the population involved. And the institutions in low and middle income countries have been supported to build research capacity in terms of establishing competent ethical review boards, laboratories, and clinical facilities, and trained and accredited research scientists for bioethical reasons, specifically in the conduct of pediatric trials. Vulnerability of a pediatric population. A pediatric population is considered as vulnerable, considering the greater potential to adverse reactions to the vaccines or drugs, as well as their inability to express themselves and making decisions. And therefore, they are more prone to harm, exploitation, deception, unfair treatment, and harmful cultural and gender norms, which are basically decided for them. In research. And in most of the African settings, extended family, village, and even tribal authorities are involved in making a decision. And this may influence the follow-up and adherence of the protocol in terms of research and even withdrawal. Poverty, underdevelopment, and low literacy and high disease burden and poor healthcare services contribute to vulnerability of the whole community within the research area in terms of weighing the appropriate risk and benefits and thus making informed decisions. Community vulnerability. Why do we say the community and families and parents in endemic areas are vulnerable? And this may be contributed by little understanding of the conduct of the research trials themselves, and also unfamiliar with the issues of the informed consent as a whole and confidentiality issues, and may not understand the scientific terms such as randomization and placebo, that my child will either receive a vaccine or a placebo, and what does it mean in terms of disease control. Is the informed consent. This is a key obligation for all the clinical studies and researchers, And it should be a process rather than a one-off exercise. It should be part of a wider community engagement, considering the community knowledge about the research itself. And regular researcher-parents interaction is needed, using a short, simplified words of informed consent to make one decide on either participation of his or her child, explaining all the risks and benefits well, also detailing all the blood sampling and volume and frequencies, including the screening procedures and what will happen if your child did not meet the inclusion criteria within the study follow-up. Persons usually under the age of 18 years are not considered to be constitutionally or legally capable of making independent decision or providing informed consent. So research which include adolescents or younger children, or a bit older children, at least above 7 years, an assent is expected to be seen together with the informed consent from the caretaker or the biological parents. So assuming that children are beginning age of 7 to 12 years, they'll start to have concrete logical thinking in terms of making decision, and also above 12 years of age, children have already developed enough reasoning capacity, so they would understand a little bit of what will happen to them and what will be given and what is expected from them. And this will all improve the adherence of the protocol procedures as well as follow-up and less numbers of withdrawal. The possibility of the child to receive either a vaccine or a placebo depending on the protocol requirements. All these information should be checked before any signing is done, and if possible a simplified audio or video tape should be prepared for demonstration within the targeted population. Illiterate parents who do not know how to write or read, they should bring an impartial witness to participate in all the discussion during the informed consent process, and willingness to continue participating in the trial should be checked and documented actually in every follow-up visit before any procedure with the researcher of the study. Benefits and risk. The risk and benefits differ between communities, and this highlights the importance of assessing the magnitude and probability of harm in vaccine trials. There should be a scientific justification for the choice of the age group, gender, ethical background, and other inclusion and exclusion criteria. The risk and benefits in terms of safety of the investigated product as well as healthcare benefits and the health insurance should be covered. So the participant should not incur any additional cost by their decision to participate in this clinical trial. And the investigation should primarily be beneficial for use within the studied community, and the protocol submitted for the ethical approval should narrate well all the benefits and risks anticipated within the trial. Adequate clinical care in these poor resource settings. A researcher or someone with a power within the health system should not use his or her position to influence a participant to decide whether to participate in research or not. Let's take an experience from the conduct of the RTSS malaria vaccine trial in Bagamoyo, Tanzania. This was a phase-3 multi-center efficacy vaccine trial of a GSK biological candidate malaria vaccine called RTS-AS01E, with the trial abbreviated as MAL55. It was conducted in 11 sites within 7 African malaria endemic countries among infants aged 6 to 12 weeks and children aged 5 to 17 months at the time of enrollment. And while setup of this trial was initiated, we established a community advisory board which acts as a link between the research team and the community using simple and understandable language. Actually, this is a platform for which actually give allowance for regular meetings to discuss the public health problems and research priorities within the community, and sometimes it gives a room for the feedback of the previous research findings or what is in the pipeline within the community, and check if the community understands and actually they will accept the trials before even starting. It also provides an entry point for community consent, because once the community advisory boards agrees of what is expected to be done, then it will be easier for the community to agree, because it will reflect what is happening within the community. And it also acts as a local authority to question the research activities on top of the institutional and national review boards. Ethical approval before the study conduct. The following steps are advised for the study implementation. For example, the first step will be a community advisory board meeting. And secondly, you call for village healthcare workers to explain about the protocol and the whole study procedures, who will be enrolled and who will be participating in this trial, and what will be expected, which villages will be chosen and why, which age group which will be included and why. All this will influence and certainly make the community agree with you and also accept and adhere to the protocol and follow. Other public stakeholders and village leaders should also be included, including the teachers. These are the people who make information and disseminate information accordingly within the community. And the community sensitization will then follow within the respective villages where you expect to recruit your participants. To the community to start reading, and then you invite small groups like group consent and check questions to see if they understand, and then you proceed with the individual consent and check question if they understand, followed by signing of the informed consent document when you are satisfied that your participant has actually understood what you have explained to him or her and willing to participate in the trial. So basically, the take-home message is the ethical principles for the clinical research include the collaborative partnership, scientific validity, the social value, favorable risk-benefit ratio, informed consent, independent review boards, and respect for recruited participants and study communities.